John, you're good?
Yeah, I think we're already live. Yeah.
Thanks for joining us today for MasterCoaches Wednesday Weekly Buzz and our after show Buzz Reaction. I'm Ruth Nelson, joined by Hall of Famers Mick Haley, Bob Bertucci, and Brian Gimolero, bringing you the most current issues and trends in volleyball. Our weekly news show has leaders in our sport provide their perspective on the questions that are asked, along with the discussions on topics that are current and ones that are affecting all of us. Our news flash. Week 4 with 18 matches of Athletes Unlimited Professional Volleyball League at Fair Park Coliseum in Dallas, Texas. 7 matches on CBS, 15 matches on Fox, and 8 matches on social media. Check their schedule out at www.auprosports.com. Want to make a difference? Please remember to renew your AVCA membership. This one organization represents all coaches at all levels when lobbying for changes that are needed in our sport, and you can make a difference by registering at avca.org. Today, our guests will be providing us the status of beach volleyball at the collegiate level, how beach continues to grow with excellent TV coverage, and how your junior clubs and high schools continue to grow the sport. Before we head over to Austin, Texas, with former Olympic coach Mick Haley, let's take a sneak preview of the upcoming 2021 Beach Championships.
Welcome to the NCAA Beach Volleyball Championship.
It does not get any better than this. Right down the middle.
Over the block and drops it in beautifully.
A rainbow to the corner.
Just incredible beach volleyball players.
Over the net so quick.
Oh.
What a block!
UCLA goes back to back on the beach.
All right, Mick, now to you for the introductions of today's special guests.
Well, pretty exciting. We've had just about everything on this spring except women's collegiate beach volleyball. And today we're going to do that with 2 of the best coaches out there. 6-year veteran Brooke Niles, head coach at Florida State University, will be one of our guests. Brooke's got 135 and 27, so it's record 833 winning percentage since she started that program, and currently tied for #1 in the AVCA poll right now. And 5-year head coach Russell Brock from LSU women's beach volleyball. Russell sporting a 97 and 32 in the 4 seasons that he's been at LSU, and #3 ranked in the AVCA polls. Welcome to both of you. We're going to start in today and jump right into this. And I'm going to start with you, Brooke. I'm going to give you 3 questions, and I'll let you ramble just a little bit. But what does your team look like this year? Who are you counting on to really stabilize what you do each time you go out, and what's the focus right now with a month and a half to go in the season? Did we lose Brooke?
No, we
No,
got it.
oh no, I'm right here. Sorry.
Okay, that's all right. Go.
So our team is a mix of newcomers that have really done a great job for us, and then the seniors that have gotten an extra year of eligibility due to our season being canceled last year. And those seniors actually got to play a lot this summer in Florida, so they have a ton of even more experience than they had years past. Plus, we have a couple key indoor, an indoor transfer, and then a key beach transfer in Tori Van Winden from Cal Poly. So I think we have a lot of depth and experience on our squad. So I'm just excited to see what they can do. But the keys for us is just focusing on our side of the net. I think we are a pretty physical team, as is Russell's team. I think we're two of the most physical teams out there right now. So we have that going for us, but we just need to focus on like our ball control and game plans and strategies. And so far we've been doing a really consistent job of that this year.
Great. Russell, what about your team?
Yeah, I think, that's the fun thing about this season is there's super teams out there. I think Brooke has one, obviously, UCLA, USC are the other ones that immediately come to mind, where you've got this basically the same rosters that you had last year when they were great, but then you add in some critical pieces that make you even better. So I think that's what's going to make this year's, competition so exciting and riveting as it kind of comes down to May. I got really pumped up watching that video, knowing that it's only, a couple months away. But yeah, for our team, we basically have all the same pieces that we had last year, and we've kind of reshuffled a little bit. And as the season plays out, we'll kind of see where it settles. But, last year we had a great run, great group, and everybody decided to come back this year. So we added in some younger pieces that make it great in practice, improve our depth. But the people that we lean on are, our fourth year, fifth year, even sixth and seventh year players that have been here seemingly forever and been doing it at a super high level, which has allowed us to grow from, maybe off the map to, a good player within the map. And, like Brooke said, I think we're really physical, as are they. And that's what makes it so fun, is that these matchups are just deep, and you're playing high level beach volleyball at 5 flights in these critical matches.
Bob, if we could have played for 6 or 7 or 8 years, we'd still be playing, wouldn't we?
Well, that's one of the great things I think about beach volleyball. You can continue to play that, just about forever. All right. Maybe not at the level that these guys are playing, but at least you can get out there and your body can stay alive. But I got a couple of questions for both you guys about facilities. So, it looks like, Brooke, you might be right outside near your facility. Florida State it's a very unique facility, and they made quite a commitment. And I thought maybe you could, tell all our viewers a little bit about your facility and the commitment, that Florida State has made to beach volleyball.
Yeah, well, so we were the first program to build a facility at Florida State, and it was before I got here, but they did a really nice job of putting 5 courts out here, because you do play 5 flights. So we have the potential to play all those at the same time. And then we have like a nice grass area, and on a normal year, we have some bleachers for some fans and stuff. But what they really did a nice job of is the sand. It's really deep. So we can train in really deep sand and go out to like California or any of the natural beaches and feel pretty comfortable out there. And then obviously when you play in harder packed sand, it's a little easier to move around. But I'd rather practice in the hard thing and play in the easier thing. So, but yeah, Florida State made a huge commitment right when beach volleyball got put into college sports. And so that's something that's really special here. Russell has an awesome facility that we just played at, and I'm sure he'll talk about it, but I hope that's the direction. Like, we're trying to get more of a stadium built here, and we just have to fundraise for it. But yeah, I really hope that's the trend of beach volleyball programs across country, because it's such an exciting sport, and these young women are so athletic and flying across the sand. And sometimes I'm just in awe watching them play, especially when we have some battles. Like, we just had a couple battles against LSU the last couple weekends. So hopefully the sport across the country is trending that way.
Now, Brooke, when you put in sand facility, especially on campus, that must be a pretty big expense for the university. You think that's a deterrent for other colleges, starting beach volleyball?
There is an expense there, but then you can host and have fans and actually we were able to do it relatively inexpensive. And I know a lot of other programs are adding more courts and there's just people that are getting better at doing it and more efficient with a cost perspective. So I think at first it can seem a little overwhelming. But if you look at it like building a gym or maybe a football facility, it's not even a quarter of the cost of that. So I think you get a lot of bang for your buck in terms of the beach because you can have indoor players cross over and play. Our facility, actually, the football team will use for cross training in the summer and other sports. The track team comes out here when they want something that's a little easier on their joints to train in. So it's kind of a multi-use facility. And I think if you look at it like that, then you can, use your money a little bit more wisely.
Well, that's a great idea. I never even thought about the fact that other teams could use it for cross training. Now, Russell, you have a very unique situation with your facility, and it came about, completely different than Brooks. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, incredibly fortunate to have an actual stadium. Our tennis program, thanks to Title IX, was in a situation, and actually just the competitive nature of kind of the upper level of intercollegiate athletics. Our men's and women's tennis team shared a stadium that had 6 tennis courts, and it had men's and women's locker rooms, but didn't have an indoor facility. So as kind of sport unraveled as it often does, they had to compete within the SEC, had to build a new facility with 20 courts and an indoor facility and separate locker rooms. So in that process, they left this stadium that's right in the heart of campus. And when we started the program 8 years ago, the vision was that we would transform that into a beach facility. So now we have 6 courts in the heart of campus, new LED lighting. We have elevated bleachers. We have a grass berm that's on the grass level. We have permanent shelters for visiting teams. We have a visiting locker room, outdoor showers. I mean, it's just unbelievable. We have our own training room and locker room and team room. So it's been, everybody doesn't have that. So that's a great opportunity. But like Brooke said, we hope that that's the direction that people will continue to go, because when you're in that stadium, and granted this year our attendance has been limited because of COVID, but last year we had almost 2,500 people show up and pack that facility for our 1 versus 2 match against UCLA. And it was electric. Sports are really exciting, like around college campuses. And like Brooke mentioned, beach volleyball, when you see it in that environment, it's unparalleled. It's just so much action, high level competition. The athletes are incredible. The surfaces, like she said, that's the best part of what we do, is being able to play in that deep sand. And just a kind of little side note too, we have people that come to ours and train as well, other sports. Sometimes it's for punishment because it's so much more taxing than, they'll get in trouble or do something and they'll roll in and, we'll be excited. We'll be training every day and they'll come in for, a little bit of a consequence. But it's still fun to share, and some of them use it just for conditioning as well. But absolutely, we love our stadium, and it's an unbelievable place to watch the sport.
Oh, that's great. It does sound like a real neat, setting for beach volleyball, and it is kind of unique. Before I kick this over to Brian, I'm sure you guys know Brian, one of our master coaches, actually was the first national championship coach, and he also had something to do, I think, with Russell, your whole facility. But I'm going to let Brian talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, Russell. I remember sitting in King Alexander's office and begging him to start a beach program at Long Beach. But when he built gave you the tennis courts, I certainly called him and let him know. I let him know. Wait a minute, we had, you gave me no money, no budget, no nothing, and now Russell's got the greatest setup in the world. Anyway. let's talk about a little bit about the future of this game. Do you know how many teams there are now? How many Division I teams, Russell?
I don't know that number specifically. I'm sure we could find it if we looked it up online. I haven't looked lately. It changes honestly so much. And even with COVID, we've had some teams drop and some teams add. It's just a really tough number to hit.
I hear there's like 90 some now. I don't know for sure. I just wonder because they keep adding, and it's a wonderful sport to watch and to do. Tell me more about what you think about this championship. Who do you see? Who you see as your major competition besides Florida State, of course?
Yeah, I think it's been the crazy thing about this year is we've had some programs that are perennially really strong that haven't even started competing yet. So we don't know for sure what some of those programs look like, but the way it's shaking out right now, I think that USC, Florida State, LSU, and UCLA is kind of the top of the heap, and we know that there's going to be some other ones that will rise, and by the end of the year, going to be in the mix. 8 get to go to the championship, and when you get that top 8, we've seen before, 8s can beat 1s, and so on and so forth. So when you get to that level, like anybody really has a shot. But I think that once again, the excitement for this year is these super teams that. You're talking like literally the conversations are these may be the best beach volleyball teams at the NCAA level that have ever played the sport. And that says a lot because there's been some incredibly powerful teams that have been really, really deep, but just the nature of where we are and how many players should have been gone, but actually are back. And then the influx of young talent that is incredibly gifted is just making people just really talented and super great at the sport, and it's really fun.
Yeah, I find how much the players improve during that all day practice, everyday practice. It's amazing from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. That's what I saw. I thought, wow, these players are really improving, and I wish you the best. Brooke, I remember you as a player. And I remember how your team needs to know how good you were, by the way, and how enthusiastic you were and how competitive you were. But I found as a coach on the beach, how different I was as a coach indoor as compared to outdoor. I went as fast as I could indoor and as slow as I could outdoor. Do you find yourself doing that? Do you find yourself a different personality on the beach than you were as a player indoors?
Yes, 100% actually. And I think because even when I played professionally on the beach, I maybe had a little more competitive.
Okay. We're getting a
That
little
Florida does that to us all the time.
That's exactly right. That's one way.
That's Florida State isn't paying their bills again. I don't know.
That's right.
Well, maybe while we're waiting for Brooke to get back, we can talk to Russell about Russell. Are they going to keep the Final Four or the national championship in Alabama? Or are they going to move that?
Yeah, I think that and it'll be interesting because they announced that they were going to do 2 more years in Gulf Shores, and then they were going to move it, I believe, out to Long Beach was going to host. So they announced like the next 4 years. So now whether or not last year counted within that contract is kind of up in the air, and I guess we'll find out at some point. But they are for sure going to do the 2 years or the 1 year left in Alabama, and then move it out to California for the championship for 2 years at least.
Russell, tell the people a little bit about the facility in Alabama, the biggest bar in the world, but tell the people about it.
Yeah, I think the overhead shots that were in the kind of preview video do a great justice to it. They put the 5 courts out there. Normally we might play 6, we play an exhibition, but at nationals, you can't really change your lineup. And so you have a limited roster and you can only play the 5 matches. And then they kind of build this, area where fans can come in. And once again, we'll see what that looks like when we get there. but it's right next to the Hangout, which is a great restaurant bar, and they have concerts at night, and there's bubbles floating over the wall, and all kinds of fun stuff. And they get on the tables and dance and sing and play, and you can kind of see that right from the courts. I mean, we were just there a couple days ago, and we have our own music that's playing, but the Hangout starts doing its thing, and you're kind of distracted because you see them dancing in there on the tables, and it's just a great environment. And the sand is beautiful; it's white. The water is clean, and it's a beautiful place. You see dolphins out there. It's just a fun place to play the sport. And for a national championship, I mean, even for, when you talk about all the other sports, like what other sport can you be in that environment? And even if you have no interest in the sport and just enjoy yourself purely for the surroundings that you're in, it's just a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's really nice of the owner to sponsor this from the beginning. We needed a sponsor in the beginning, and it's really nice of him. I always appreciated that. We need more sponsors.
Yes, the city of Gulf Shores opens their arms and embraces our sport, and that's why we have events. UAB hosted the event. We were there last weekend. Brooke's going to host one there in a couple weeks, and in the fall we usually have events that they host. They just love the sport. They love to have people come in. They're so welcoming, and we love to support them, and I think that's why it's been such a great relationship.
Great. Well, Brooke is back, Brian.
Oh, Brooke, where are you? There you are.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, I just thought all I want to know is, as a pro player and everything, you were such a competitive player, enthusiastic and all. Do you find yourself coaching like that, or is it different?
I mean, I'm still really competitive. And I think I would say even yourself, when you were coaching, were ultra competitive, and I don't really like to lose. But I know just in learning about different players and working with different people that everybody needs something a little different. So some people I can push my competitiveness, but I think there's no hiding that for me around this team. And I think sometimes it helps them a lot, just get over those humps of when it's been a long season or you're tired and things like that. So I try to always be myself and be true to myself, but I'm not going to yell and scream at them and things like that. We just kind of go over strategy. And I don't think I'm even allowed to do that on the beach. I cheer a little too much on the beach. You could probably ask Russell, and I'm not really supposed to say anything, but it's hard to hold that back.
Well, I just, that enthusiasm and that competitiveness is something you can give to your players. It's a compliment. I always saw you being really, I felt that watching people on the beach, they change so much. It's such a more relaxed, soft environment, so slower. So I just, I can't wait to get to see you. I got to come to the Final Four and watch you two.
I know, you got to bring Kathy with you.
Oh,
you God, make one final trip.
I won't be able to ask any questions,
Not a word.
Very true.
Yeah. Anyway, I wish you both the best of luck. Let's go to Ruth here.
You know what? You guys have been great for the last 3 weeks. I actually, Russell and Brooke, they usually narrow my little time down to a couple minutes. But one of the biggest things that's interesting is, do you bring Mike the Tiger out? I'm interested in that because I spent a little bit of time at LSU, and I remember when Tulane spray painted it green. Now, Brooke, you don't do anything to Mike the Tiger, do you? You don't.
No,
you don't.
And actually, our players got to walk by it a couple of weeks ago. Walked by Mike, and they thought that was really cool on campus. But no, I would never do anything like that.
Okay, so let's get to the biggest and the toughest question: is the recruiting aspect. Because of the dead period being extended every single, it's 2 months, then 3 months, then more months, and now the end of May 31st. Have you guys seen a lot more beach online watching, or can you see from a distance from the beach watching? And Russell, let's go to you first.
Yeah, I don't know that anybody would let anybody get away with even watching remotely in person. It might not even actually be very practical. The sport is one where you really need to be up close in person to see kind of what's going on. So Absolutely. A lot more kind of groups and tournaments have been live streaming. So it's basically better than nothing at this point. And watching a lot of videos, like the prospects are doing a great job of creating highlight films and providing video that we can watch. And that's all you have right now. So, really blessed that there's even that opportunity. I know indoor got shut down for significantly longer, and other sports got shut down for longer than beach did. So, that at least we have the chance to continue to watch to some degree and to get some feedback, visually, even though we can't really communicate very much, even with the younger classes, which that's understandable as well. But, I think our sport has done a good job at the junior level of providing opportunities to continue to compete and also to get that footage in front of coaches and allow us to continue to have some sort of recruitment during this extended dead period.
Yeah. Well, maybe too, you might have been able to get a few more new indoor players because they were allowed outdoors, in May. So you might be able to recruit a few more because they figure, hey, if COVID continues to go on and up and down, maybe they'll convert to beach where it's nice outside, like you talked about.
Yeah, for sure. In talking with juniors, coaches and clubs, there's been an absolute influx of indoor athletes that came out, particularly during the summer when they shut down the club season for juniors. They all streamed outside because they just wanted to keep doing it. And, inevitably, some of those kids fall in love with the game. And when that happens, it's great for our sport. So absolutely.
Okay, so Brooke, I'm going to go to you for the last part of this question because we're getting close on time. If you had an opportunity to say something, and then I'm going to come back to you, Russell, what could you tell all of those beach hopefuls out there that want to play beach in college? What could you tell them to inspire them since you've been a player and now you're a coach? What are those things you could inspire them to want to work toward getting in college?
I mean, volleyball in general is one of the greatest sports there is. It's so fun, and there's this magical team atmosphere that you can't replace once you're done with that. So I think the indoor players specifically that want to transfer to play at a beach program for a year or two, it just extends that feeling of being a part of something and working really hard with your teammates. And that was something that when I left college, I had an opportunity to play indoor professionally, and I didn't want to do it because there wasn't that team aspect. So that's why I decided to go beach. And that's something that I think is special in both of our mine and Russell's programs, is that feeling of connection with your teammates and working hard for a common goal. So if that's something that you enjoy about college, then I think you should really go for it and try to extend your career on the beach. And plus, it's just a sport you can play for your entire lifetime. So if you learn the basics of it, it can really be something you play into your 40s like myself, and really have a good quality of life.
That's great. Okay, Russell, I hate to cut you short, but what's your last, the guys always get to talk the most. So guess what? You get to talk the shortest because the women got to talk long. What's your words to those inspiring young ladies out there?
Yeah, I think it's continue to work hard. This sport is not one that at the highest level comes easily. So, if you're afraid of that hard work, then maybe reevaluate. But if you're not, like, the opportunities continue to grow as the sport continues to be added at lots of universities. And as we kind of come out of this COVID phase and finances get settled in, I don't see anything happening other than the sport to take another jump. So even if you're, struggling right now to find a spot, don't give up, because there's always going to be opportunities to continue to play the game.
Okay, that's great. Okay, Mick.
Okay, hey, to either of you, is anybody messing around with your rules? In the indoor game, we're always worried somebody's always messing around with the rules, trying to create something that's not really needed. Anybody messing around with the beach rules right now?
Brooke, you can take it first.
Yeah, I think there's always that. And it's hard. Like when I first started coaching, I was like, I'm just a rule follower most of the time. And it was just really, I'm like, they're not allowed to do that. And I would get so upset. But now I've kind of like accepted, you know, there's some coaches that do like some things, and I just try to prepare my team like, hey, we got to just challenge whatever's in front of us. We got to win at that spot. And if it's somebody that maybe shouldn't be at the fives and it'll just make us better in the end. So, but I used to let it get to me a lot.
Okay, Mick, we're running out of time here. If you better do your last thank yous while we move off.
I will thank both of you, and you've been delightful guests. I mean, this has been quite enlightening and really fun, and I hope people have enjoyed your personalities. Certainly enjoyed both of you when you were playing, but it's really nice to get a chance to talk with you now. So thank you very much for coming on. We need to get back, and when you guys get a little closer to the tournament time, and get you back on and see where you are at that time. So thanks a lot for both of you coming on. And Ruth, next week, we are going to have 2 surprise coaches from teams that have been very surprising this year in the indoor collegiate season. And that will be a surprise because we're not going to name them until we're sure we can get both of those coaches on. But I think you'll want to tune in and listen to this because nobody predicted these teams to be on top of their conferences.
Okay, John, guess what? We're going to our digital partner, Dr. John Foreman, who will update us on the most recent podcast.
Thanks, Ruth. Quick. This week's podcast is actually going to be old friend David Gill from Vert, who's going to be talking about, well, there's a bit of concussion stuff in there, but the main focus was meant to be and was mostly on warm-ups and how to do them right and make them effective. So with that, we can move on to Buzz Reaction and say goodbye to our 2 guests.
Thanks, you
Russell,
too.
thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Russell. Thanks,
Bye-bye,
Brooke.
Russell.
Thank you for having us. I'm sweating. That was so fast. Thank you.
Welcome to our Buzz Reaction. And today we will be having one very special guest come on in the last 15 minutes as part of our Wanna Be a Guest program, which we'll introduce her later in the show. Now, let's hear from Master Coaches as they continue the conversation on today's Buzz show.
What's your take
All right,
on the
Mick.
beach? I was, they seemed comfortable. I was surprised they didn't know how many teams. Brian, you think it's 91? I thought it was over 50, but I didn't know it was closer to 90.
Yeah, there's some provisional teams. I don't know what I don't know what happened with that provisional thing because of COVID. I don't know what actually went into play this year, but they were ready to go.
All right.
Interesting.
I thought it was interesting for both Russell and Brooke mentioned how their facility is being used by other sports.
Oh,
And that does make a lot of sense for, you know, it could be a very cost-effective way to have, you know, alternate cross training for other sports, as well as having a great facility right on campus.
I meant to mention that, Bob. I know one school wanted courts, and he talked to the football coach and said, I can give you 60 yards full of sand and you can work out there. And it was done the following week.
Yep.
And the commitment was the football coaches would replace the sand as long as they could use it. So he got a facility in 1 week because of football. And I actually meant to say that because I think all the coaches, that's the way they can add a facility, talk to football. It's cheap and football coaches love it. They all use them and they all love them.
And it might not ever come out of your budget for anything.
Anything, you got it done. It's done, and you know, and everybody's happy, and you got what you wanted.
Well, you know, when there's a will, there's a way. You know, we always created ways to play in the sand or play indoors or sneak into gyms or whatever we had to do. We always had a will, and certainly this is the same with sand. But you know, wouldn't it be neat now if the schools could start hosting the national championships? Like it sounds like Russell with 6 courts, LSU could actually host the national championships, have plenty of spectator room, and have beautiful situation right on campus, which means that brings the campus atmosphere in also. It's been fun watching it on the beach, but you really don't get the crowds you would get from having it on campuses. So it'll be interesting to see if they start moving in that direction. You think the coming to Long Beach is going to be on the Huntington Beach area, though, Brian?
It's a perfect area. The reason they don't do schools yet, originally I wanted to bring it into school, and we had a 3-court facility that somebody put up for us, but we were going to expand it and bring it in there. But they want that beach look. They're trying to stay with that, beach volleyball, the crowd, the sponsors, the image. What really wants to be a beach image. So I don't know if that is going to change. Like the facility in Alabama is really a spring break place. It's that's where they go for spring break, and they're trying to keep that, a lot of fun, outdoors, athletic image. So I don't think they'll switch anytime soon.
Wow. Well, it was interesting.
Why are they switching it though? If they have something going really well, down in Gulf Shores, why go to Huntington?
Well, after about 10 years of being in the East, they're getting a lot of pushback from the West. Hey, how come we always have to travel there? And
how about the 40 years that we all had to travel to the West Coast?
Yeah, that was fair.
Oh yeah, that sounds like you.
That seemed fair to me. But that's the reason. And Huntington Beach, the place they're going to have it is perfect. I mean, it's a perfect location. The players will love it because of those beautiful hotels. They're going to be put up there and walk across the street. It's in the, you could put 60 courts in there, nice and flat. It's just really a perfect place.
Yeah, and Ruth,
are you their marketing manager or what?
Well, actually, they asked me to, raise money. So, and the answer is, I'm comfortable working with you guys.
Ruth, you had a slide that had the different years. It looks like they're got a couple more years at Gulf Shores, and but now it's going to be at least 2 or 3 years at Huntington Beach.
Yeah, 2025 for Huntington Beach in 2026.
There you go.
Yeah, it is interesting how they're going that direction. I just think when we first, I think when I was at SC, we were the first school to actually adopt sand volleyball as varsity sport. And so we went down to the Staples Center and we tried to get the Lakers and the Staples Center to sponsor the first tournament, which they were going to do. We could get 4 courts in that area where they have the ice rink, right in the middle of Los Angeles. And we thought that would be a great way to promote the sport and get it out. But Brian's right. Everybody wanted the beach. They wanted to go out either to Santa Monica, Manhattan, or Hermosa. And then I don't know who found the Alabama side. Maybe it was DeBoer and the AVCA came up with that also. But it's been real interesting. I just think both places are expensive to go to, incidentally. It's very difficult to get to the Alabama site, and it's very expensive to go to the Southern California site. So just one of those items that they'll start looking at once the sport gets fully developed, I think.
Yeah, having options, but I don't think they'll give up that beach look for a long time.
Yeah, how about the recruiting? I think that was
interesting.
I think I've heard a lot of junior kids, boy, I love beach now that I've gotten a chance to play, not because I could choose, but I was because of COVID. And it's kind of interesting to hear the interest more so than ever before.
Well, I meant to say something to Brooke about Tori transferred from SLO. She's one heck of a player, and transfer in, I think she's a 6th year with some medical problems, but she was a great indoor player, and wow, great beach player. She's got to be one of their best players. What a nice transfer that is.
Well, I thought it was interesting, the take when I asked about rule changes. Yeah. And I didn't get any rule changes. What I got was what the coaches do and get away with and what they don't do and get away with. So I should have been a little bit more specific. But there must be some some things out there that they're working through to get everybody on the same page.
I always found it to be hilarious, the short amount of time that I coached. I had 5 teams, you know, you have 5 teams, and my 1 through 5 was 1 through 5 every week. I never changed it. You know, this is match up who you want because this is who we're going to play. And a lot of coaches switched it around. You know, they'd play their 5 at 4 and 3, and that's what she was complaining about. And I just thought, well, wait a minute, you know, I had a 5 team that was undefeated, but they were never played before. They never played beach volleyball in their lives, and they were undefeated. So I just said, they're going to be 5. If you want to play your 1 against them, play your 1 against them. I don't care.
But wait, you know what? John was thinking the same thing. Ruth, why are you going to ask Mick a question when it's 27 minutes after and he starts asking the question at 8 and I had no time?
That was a great question, though.
Well, yeah, well, it doesn't have anything to do with that. You better be glad that we don't have that $50,000 sponsor that I just didn't get a chance to talk about.
Yeah.
But I've always wondered why you can't manipulate the lineups and try to make it a little bit more of a coaching game also. Beach people hate that, I think, for the most part, but I always thought one of the most fun things would be to try to outthink the opponent's coach and play my 1s here, my 2s here, my 3s here, and see if I can figure out the advantage. Just like matchups in the 6-on-6 game. You know, I love the matchup part of the thing. Yeah. Basketball has gotten the same way, and matchups, they do the same thing. But beach and tennis and those people, they all got their rules that are unwritten that they have to go by. So
well, I wasn't smart enough. I wasn't smart enough to do that. I could outthink myself. So I just put the same lineup out there every day. Let you play again. You figure, you're smarter. You figure out who you want to match up against.
Okay, so in tennis, you can mix those up, and they do allow you to move them around, except the seed number 1, when everybody knows you can't be putting your number 1 down at 5 singles, but you can mix that doubles up.
You can only move at 1. I thought you could only move at 1.
Yeah, but you can do
same in beach. It's the same in beach now.
Yeah, you can do doubles.
You can move a little bit.
Yeah, I like the tactical part of that.
Well, right. You would have loved playing me because you know what was coming.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Well, that keep it simple, stupid works for everybody.
Yeah, that was especially for me.
Well, let's get Patty on. She's here.
Yeah.
All right, let's get ready here.
Wait a minute. I don't see the Mercedes van with the advertising. Where is that, Patty? I walked by that every place in Hermosa Beach when I lived there. It was at the school.
Okay, you guys, let's give her a formal introduction here. Let's bring in our guest today to join in this new format, Patty, which allows the guest to be on Buzz Reaction for 10 minutes. Like some guests, we've had 2, so you get 10 minutes. Each guest has a chance to ask Master Coaches a question they've always wanted to ask, or just an opinion. But I know you're going to have lots of questions because Bob said he talked to you. Our guest today is Patty Dodd. A few of her accomplishments and honors: Columbia National Team, 2-time UCLA All-American, 2 years Major League Volleyball Pro League, the Starlights, and 16 years professional beach player with 15 career Beach Open wins, and inducted into the Beach Volleyball Hall of Fame, and the founder of MB Sand Volleyball Club, Dodd Volleyball School, and Beach Nation. Welcome, Patty. You deserve this introduction.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And it's been a really interesting conversation. Of course, Mick is, he's stirring the pot, trying to think the inside of how to break the rules and all that. And Brian is following the rules. So
there you go.
Anyways, I definitely want to use this opportunity because I'm, surrounded here by incredible experience. I would love to know, it's got to be well over a century of coaching experience between the 4 of you. And I would love to take this opportunity to ask you the question about the benefit of playing small games to the indoor game, because I know your experience is mostly with indoor. And for me, unfortunately, sometimes I run into the issues that I have kids that tell me, oh, my indoor coach won't let me play beach until I'm done with the season in June or July, because they say that playing beach is going to ruin my timing. You don't teach fundamentals. It's not good for the game. So I would love for you guys to answer that question of the benefit of playing small, 2 versus 2, playing beach game as a complement to the indoor game.
All right, who wants to go?
Well, I'll go because, when I grew up, if we could play, we were going to play, whether it was beach, indoor, whatever, we played. And we felt like every time we played, we got better, but we just enjoyed playing. To tell kids they can't play, it really bothers me a whole lot. And I think if they want to play, I think that's all right. But it is important to understand technique also. For instance, I watch many of the beach players pass with 1 foot in front of them to get into their approach much quicker and things like that. Some of that stuff won't work on the indoor game, but it doesn't mean you can't switch the way you pass indoor and outdoor. It doesn't mean you can't switch the way you block or the way you move or what you do. I was one of those people, and I hated hearing both of these sand coaches talk today about deep sand. I would sink all the way to the bottom of deep sand. I wanted the hard clay packed where I could jump and at least get a swing, because I'll tell you what, that deep sand just drive me crazy. And I had a teammate, Tom Bierman, who would just, he would never sink. He just ran across the top of the sand. And I loved that. But somehow I didn't get that right. But my answer to the question is, I think you ought to play. I think it helps. Anytime you play, you just have to understand the techniques you're using and why you do certain things. And coaches can be quick to point those things out. And I think it just makes you that smarter a player.
All right, Bob or Brian?
Okay, Patty, by the way, I remember when you first came from Columbia and you were such a good player as a young girl, and then went to UCLA, and you were just a great player at UCLA. I wanted you to everybody to know, or you just to remind everyone. I'm a believer in playing. It's foolish to tell somebody you can't play. And the other thing is, who didn't, you go play on the beach and you go indoors and you suddenly feel like you can jump again, you can move again. It helps your game, it helps you feel lighter, you feel better, you feel faster. The game seems easier indoor after you play a day on the beach. It's foolish not to play. And playing the game over and over in a difficult, with the sun and the wind, and there's only 2 of you and you handle every other ball. I mean, it's a great way, it's a great way to learn the game. It's a great way to get in shape. It's a great way, there's very few injuries, and you learn more about the game. It's foolish not to play. The indoor coaches should promote going outside every other day. Go outside, play, and come back in. You'll feel better. You'll enjoy the game more. That's my position.
Yeah. Well, like Mick, I was an indoor player that played on the beach. All right. And I just thought there was tremendous value in doing that. One, of course, Patty, talking about the small sided game, playing, 2 against 2, the number of contacts you get, just the number of contacts you get compared to in the 6-player game, is 6-fold. And
if you don't sink,
that's going to help your game for sure. What's that, Nick?
If you don't sink in the sand, you get tons of contacts. Yeah.
Well, of course, the indoor players that always would play, in the sand, would try to approach the same way they approach indoors, and that's when you get stuck in the sand. But like Brian mentioned, it definitely increased your vertical jump. It increased your speed to the ball. And one other thing, from a coaching standpoint too, when you play outside, you don't have the ceiling or the walls to judge the ball. All right. So if you learn how to play outdoors, coming indoors becomes a much easier game for you. So I think I'll tell you what, my men's team right now, because of COVID, all right, when we started in the fall, we were outside every day. Now we were playing 3 against 3, 4 against 4, because we weren't allowed in the gym anyway. All right. And it definitely helped those guys, improve their game tremendously. I mean, we were starting so much from the beginning. It's really valuable.
I was the opposite. I fell into an old beach house in Sunset Beach, Patty, down in Sunset Beach. I had this old house and I had my own court out in front of my house, and I played a lot of years beach volleyball. I was terrible indoor and I was really bad outdoor, but I played a lot. And I just found the game to be just a sensational relaxation, social, physical. I just can't say enough about the game as a positive things for young people. So that was my experience. I went indoors. I did jump higher. I did move faster, but I was still bad. So it didn't make much difference.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about the young level, since Patty deals with a lot of the youth. I think one of the most important things is we do with BYOP, bring your own parent. The parent and the kid comes out, just like what beach volleyball on the West Coast has been doing for years and years and years. And I think that if every young girl and boy could spend time in the beach and learn footwork, and you become so much better. And I think you appreciate the indoor game, like these guys have said, appreciate the indoor game, but it really develops a bond between that kid and the parent that they don't have in any other atmosphere. Whereas you're indoor, the mom's over coaching or the dad's coaching from the bleachers, right? In the sand, they're on the court. Now they may be coaching, but I think the kid's engaged in it. And I think that a lot of people don't like to move that 2x2 and 4x4 or 3x3 indoors, because it takes dividing the court, taping off the court. It might mean a different type of ball. It might mean a lot of things, but Patty, you have the passion and the desire to make an effect, which you are making an effect on so many kids. And I think other people that are outdoors are doing that. I think indoors, it's about numbers and it's about feeders going into a club, and it's a little bit more about money. But I've never met you personally, but I watched you at UCLA when I was at Houston, but it's wonderful what you're doing with your whole foundation of your volleyball program.
Yeah, so I think one point, and thank you everybody for educating our audience here in regards to the benefits of beach volleyball as a complement to indoor. And then one of the things that we didn't tap that's really important is injuries. And as we all know, the sand being a very forgiving surface, there are less injuries in beach volleyball. A lot of players that might experience knee pain, back pain from all the jumping and pounding on the hard court definitely don't get that from the beach. So that's something also to think about as far as the longevity of your body in the sport. And beach volleyball is a life skill, something that you can play well into your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. I walk up and down the beaches here in Southern California, and it's really cool to see doubles, 4-man, 6-man, men that are 40, 50, 60 years old out there playing in the 4-man format. You get a lot of ABCD, where your D maybe is somebody in their 60s, and your
do you have an F?
We do a lot of ABCD tournaments, and the D somebody maybe that's not moving as well, and your A is the gun, and the B is maybe your setter or your really good passer. So it's super fun to watch it, because yes, it is a social life skill.
Okay, so I've got a question. What about the Beach Nation Mercedes van?
Well, you did get the Mercedes van, which I'm super spoiled, but you got the wrong brand. So about 4 years ago, the club, MBSAN is 5 years old, and about 4 years ago, my husband got us a used Mercedes van, and then we wrapped it with the MBSAN logo. And because Mick was my neighbor, he will walk by around here and we'll see it parked on the street. But I am one of the founders with your fellow Bob Bertucci, and somebody that you might know, Todd Rogers and Mark Fishman. We founded Beach Nation, and is beach coaching and player education. And we're 3 years old, and we're growing. We're the educational partner for the AVCA, for the JVA, for the AVP and the Starlings. So we hope to be a bit like Switzerland, where we're friends with everybody. And we're actually going to be doing some work with USA Volleyball when it comes to not only educating coaches on how to coach the beach game specifically, but also coaching players. And our staff is mostly college coaches, because that's really what draws the kids to come to our clinics and showcases, is that they want to be coached by the college coaches and be seen by them. So it's a pretty cool company to be a part of, and proud to be partnered up with those three guys.
Okay, so we have a couple minutes left, Patty, and you're pretty special because we've not had people on here get to ask all these questions. So you can ask any of them any question. If you want to embarrass them, we'll allow it. Uh-oh. That laugh.
That's easy to do.
So you get to ask another question here before we finish up here.
If you if you had a magic wand, what changes would you do to volleyball the way that is structured in United States today?
Okay, we're going to Mick first, because if I leave him last, we're going to run late. Okay. So
I think you better let everybody else get their opinion.
okay. All right. Brian, you want to go?
I'm not sure in what capacity, what specifically, what do you mean?
Well, Brian, just because it just seems a little bit broken, right? It's like, these people are running that, those people are running that. There's AAU, there's JVA, there is USAV, there's, as far as like the indoor world, and then in the beach, you have like 6 different tours trying to run things. And it just seems just really, too many parties involved.
Yeah, and well, you answered it. That's the problem. The problem is there's too many chiefs, too many cooks in the kitchen. I would love to see. What I'd love to see is indoor and beach a style that was American style, and that it became successful and unique and understandable, and then became influenced throughout the world. So you'd be unified through one particular vision, when you saw people play, you'd say, oh, they're Americans. That is an American game. And I would like to see that. And we have enough talent as coaches, we have enough talent as players, that if we could get together, we could do something identifiable that was better than anybody else in the world did, both indoor and beach. That's what I'd like to see.
Okay, Bob?
Well, I'll take a stab at this. Actually, I think the American style is just a style Patty talked about. All right, it's all these different cooks that are coming up with things. But I'll give you an example. I mean, MBSAN, the program that Patty runs, I've had some experience with some of the kids that were in that program. I was absolutely amazed at the level that the kids that are 10 and 11 years old are playing volleyball. I mean, they're as good as as most 16 to 17-year-olds that I've seen other parts of the country. So I think that when you get somebody like that, or what Beach Nation's doing with their programs, the cream's going to come to the top. I mean, you're going to get, the people, maybe there's 30 people doing it. Eventually there's going to be 4 or 5 people doing it, and it's going to be the best 4 or 5. And I think that's going to continue to happen. So I don't know if that's necessarily bad. I don't know if we need to have.
Hey guys, we're out of time. And thanks, Patty, for joining us on today's Buzz Reaction. We wish you great success as you move safely into your competitive club season and continued success with Dodd Volleyball School. We're excited to know that coaches still want to be life learners. Book your MasterCoaches custom virtual clinic today by heading over to our Instagram. Click in our bio and click on the virtual clinic link. If you're looking for a fantastic one-day clinic near Abilene, Texas, join us June 5th by registering on AbileneYSA.org. For those viewers that want to be on our Buzz Reaction guest list, jump over to Volleyball MasterCoaches Instagram. Go to the bio, click on the sign up to be a guest list. For those coaches that are interested in our consulting services, please email from our VB MasterCoaches Instagram. And we want to thank you for joining us on our Buzz today, and we will see you next week.